All right. Today we're going to try a little experiment. We're going to try to explore something I call partial chords. And partial chords are really, that's not a technical term of anything, it's just what I call them. They're just chords that exploit the open strings that aren't necessarily in the key of the chords. And you can do some really interesting things with these. For example, let's say you're working on an instrumental and you need to go from a G chord and you want to have an F chord in it. But the F chord just sounds too thin this way. It's too hard to play the bar cleanly there for the F chord. So you're kind of stuck. Maybe your hand's not big enough to reach the thumb around. Some people who have really big hands can reach their thumb around to that bass note. Or let's say you're just going to be there for a couple of seconds or less than a second as part of a riff or something. Well, you can do some cool stuff. I'm just going to play a G chord with 2 fingers here. I'm playing the low G here on the 6th pair of strings and on the 2nd pair of strings, 3rd fret. I'm muting the bottom string. So you get this kind of drony bagpipe sound thing, and I'm also muting the 5th string pair. Well, since I'm doing this muting here, what I can do is I can just slide my fingers down. I'm going to go to the 1st and the 3rd fret. The only notes that are actually from a true F chord there are the F and the C, which I'm playing on the 1st fret, on the 6th string and on the 2nd string pairs. And then I go back up. So I'm just keeping the shape in there. Now, when I'm playing the middle strings here, there's a D, a G, and a B. That's actually a G chord, just on its own. Oops, let me take that back. I am fingering the C there, so I have a C, a G, and a D, which really doesn't make a triad to mix any kind of chord at all. But if I'm finger picking real fast, so I add the pinky in there. So using that partial chord, just for that little bit there, it can sound glorious. It's filled with a lot of mystery and ambiguity, rather than a plain old vanilla F chord. If I try to play it, I could play it. It's kind of awkward getting there, but then I lose the zing that you get from those middle strings being open. So that sounds really cool. Another thing you can do sometimes, let's say you're walking down the strings from a G. Now I can switch to the F sharp as part of the walk down. But let's say I want to make a D chord. My notes in a D chord would be D, F sharp, and A. So I'm going to take this around and I'm going to put the F sharp on the top and move this finger over. There's a beautiful D chord with the 3rd in the bass. G, D. And then from there, I could drop this finger down to F and then go everything open. Kind of throwing things together there. You could take that all the way down to the E minor. So you could have that little walking F there. By keeping this finger here on the D, I'm keeping that G flavor happening, but I'm just throwing the F in here against it. I can also add my pinky in down here, really make that G really ring, and then move down. So just by using a partial chord or a piece of a chord against a regular, the main chord that I'm playing, I can do some pretty cool stuff. Let's go to, let's try a D here. Nice little D chord. I'm gonna take my middle finger off, leave the bottom string open. It makes it a D add 9 or a D sus2. And one of the things happens when I take that F sharp out of there, I subtract the part of the chord that could be either major or minor. That F, whether it's an F natural or an F sharp, would determine whether it's going to be a D chord or a D minor. There's a D, D minor. The only difference between those two chords is this F sharp right there. So I take it away, it could function as either. Kind of sloppy there with my thumb. Well, let's take that. Okay, all I've done there, I'm taking the 2-finger D, and I've just raised up this finger to open up the middle string, the A that I was playing, that drops to a G, and this goes to a C. So now I've got C, D, G, D, E. It really doesn't make a chord, a proper chord. Depending on my finger picking pattern, that makes it a very melodic kind of cluster of notes. So that's a cool little thing. And it's very similar. I'm just going down from the root, from D to a C, but I can walk down. Do it slow. I can go down one more to B flat. I use that in my little arrangement I do for Dear Prudence. So using those partial chords, I escape having to use the bar chords, and I have something that sounds pretty cool and original. Let's try another one. A minor. Again, I have the C here, which if that was a C sharp, gives me an A chord. If I switch it to a C natural, A minor. Let's take it away entirely. Now I have this ambiguous chord, which is a suspended second. It could function as a minor chord or as a major chord. In this case, I'm going to use it as a minor chord, and I'm going to keep that open B kind of droning, the E and the B on the bottom here. Now let's take my pinky, let's walk down the scale. A, okay, I'm going to go C, B, A, keep going, G, F, or I could go up. That's less comfortable, but you could do it nonetheless. And all I'm doing is just got this suspended 2 chord here. A suspended 2. I'm adding with my pinky C. Now I let go with the second finger and I go to the B. Then I open it up, go back. G, F, back to A. Okay, one last little thing. One movable shape that I have used a lot of my songs that I've written originals is one shape that I discovered. I was playing a G chord and I added this A into it. So it's a G add 2 or a G add 9. And I have the bottom open as well. Now I can close it and I make it a straight G. But if I leave it open, this is the 6th note of the scale, and the A would be the 9th, so it's a G6-9. I'm muting the 5th string. So my notes here are 3, that's G, the muted B, a D open, A, D, and an E. So it's basically a G6 chord, just a skeleton of one. Now this chord I discovered you can move around. Move to the 6th fret, it becomes like a B flat with this weird open E, which is not part of the B flat scale at all. And that creates this real delightful kind of set of dissonances. Okay, now let's move this up to the 8th fret. And here, basically it's a C add 9. So that works pretty cool. Now I can also subtract this note out of it. And I drop it down. I've got my 2nd finger that's playing the G, the root note, it drops down to an F. And the note that's holding the D drops down to the C. That's our first example. Okay, there I'm just, that's 2 fingers. So then I can do cool little things like so there's all kinds of neat little things you can explore with just these shapes, and you move them around. But yeah, that's the G, okay. That becomes a movable kind of thing. Let's see, how do we... So as you see, it's something that you can play around with a lot, come up with some pretty useful things. People will come up to you and ask you, what tuning are you in? And basically you're in standard tuning, but using the complexity of the harmonies available on the 12th string because of the octave choices and stuff, you can come up with some really interesting things with just a couple of fingers. That way your hands aren't really tired trying to hold bars as you're doing different melodic things all over the neck, and you don't have to go to an open tuning. None of these things are really legitimate chords. They're very complex if you start to break them down and analyze them, because they all suggest multiple different chords. Next time we'll take a look at a couple of different things where you can put some dissonances, where you lay chords over top of each other to get basically two different chords at the same time to create how are you going to call them, polytonal kind of chords that'll suggest like a C against a D or those kind of things. But explore around with those, try those shapes out. Again, this is a standard tuning, 1/2 step low for the 12 string. If you want to try and play along with some of those, but yeah, try those out and see what you think. And leave some comments. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to answer, please do so in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you as best I can. And thanks for watching. Bye now.